Pakistan's election 2024 are around the corner, just about a week long from now, on 8th of February. However, there have been serious issues whether these are free and fair, and whether there are brutalities, oppression and atrocities perpetrated on a particular political party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf or PTI. We believe that a nation or a country can only progress and prosper is by a singular commitment to democracy. To form a government of the people, by the people, for the people remains the raison d'etre of any democracy. However, we have seen that all elections in Pakistan are marred by so many controversies and so many foreign powers and internal powers meddling into it. So that a particular election is actually skewed to a military or establishment pushed agenda. We have seen it once again how in the recent times the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, has been cornered into a very small electoral place where their candidates are being arrested, some murdered, and their activists and their members are not allowed to take part in any political rallies or processions. Today we have three guests who are joining us via video link from Pakistan in our London studios, and we'll be speaking to them on what is happening in the political affairs of Pakistan, especially in the wake of these two decisions against Imran Khan, which to a lot of people are not only shocking but a massacre of justice. My first guest is Mr. Shoaib Shaheen, who is the spokesperson of PTI and also a candidate from NA46 Islamabad, and he has been a lawyer in the Supreme Court for Imran Khan in various cases. Today we also have Mr. Izzaz Ahsan, who is a very senior Supreme Court lawyer, a lawmaker and an intellectual who although he's from the Pakistan People's Party, opponent of Imran Khan, but he's voicing his full statements on the political situation and especially the human rights violation and atrocities that are perpetrated against the PTI and Imran Khan. And finally, I have the spokesperson of PTI, Mr. Rauf Hassan. So starting from my first guest, Mr. Shoaib Shaheen, thank you very much for joining us. And without any further ado, we'll go to the brass tag and we will ask you what is happening in this electoral process in Pakistan. Shoaib sir, thank you very much for giving us time in your very difficult time and very hectic schedule. A lot is happening in Pakistan. What do you make up of these two very, so to say, draconian decisions against Imran Khan and his wife?
You see, it is unconstitutional, it is inhuman, it is violation of Article 10A of the Constitution of Pakistan, which says that a right of fair trial must be given to any accused, whosoever may be. But here in our case, the defense was and the prosecutors who were appearing against Mr. Imran Khan, who were appointed as state counsel on behalf of Mr. Imran Khan, and thereafter without affording an opportunity to produce an evidence and without hearing the advocates who were appointed, which is their legal right, and they were not given an opportunity of producing their witnesses, and without hearing, the conviction was ordered to be made. But unfortunately, no order has been passed, no judgment has been received so far, which is otherwise violation of the law itself, because when it is announced, it must be written. Without writing a judgment, without hearing, without providing an opportunity himself, this order has been passed, which is not sustainable in the eye of law. There is no example at all in the history of Pakistan that such decision was made. A decision which was delivered by Judge Humayun Dilawar in August 2023 against Mr. Imran Khan, and all yesterday case and today's case, all these decisions, both these decisions are the worst example of color of the judges, as well as we have seen.
Yeah, there's a huge
Yes.
there's a huge hue and cry in Pakistan and all over the world, especially amongst overseas Pakistanis. So what's happening in Pakistan, and how a particular party, PTI, and Imran Khan and his family are being cornered, which is obviously is not a justice or state where the justice is prevailing. Don't you think that there is any foreign powers involvement that who do not want Imran Khan PTI to really flourish or take part in the elections?
Yes, I believe, because first of all, you see, he said absolutely not to a very influential country in the world, because it is treated as a international establishment. It can be treated. So that was also a reason. And again, when he said that there must be no interference on behalf of any of the foreign country, because it is our sovereign state. So sovereignty cannot be compromised in any situation. So in Cypher case, he was sentenced, and again in Tosha Khana case, within a few days, he was sentenced. Everything is on the face of it, I think, which is evident from all these cases and from the decisions, and so rapidly and undue haste was shown while convicting the Mr. Imran Khan, and that is too before the elections.
You have a direct access to Imran Khan being his spokesperson or PTI spokesperson and his lawyer. What is the body language of Mr. Khan in these scenarios? Because these are really very daunting times.
You see, Mr. Imran Khan has very strong nerves. He is very brave man, Alhamdulillah. He can face every situation. And when we said what would be happened, he said, "I'm ready to even to sacrifice myself, his body, his life for the true freedom, for the freedom of their country, for the sovereignty of their countrymen, and as well as for the dignity and respect of their citizens of Pakistan." So he said, I can maintain all these punishments and convictions, whatever they want to give us. But the issue is that all these injustices are being done, and the judges are being compromised without due process of law. Punishments are being given. So it has devalued our justice system. The rule of law and the supremacy of the constitution has been compromised. So the human rights violation is so evident. Whenever we shall take the issue of Kashmir, this all these factors and the injustices will be shown to us. So it is, I think, a very serious thing. The persons who are at the helm of the affairs, they are playing with the country. I think it should not be done in this way.
Yeah, thank you. So, as the election day on 8th of February is coming near, and one can see that the, so to say, atrocities as Imran Khan's party members and the leaders are suggesting are increasing, and it has come to a gory detail now, and the idea is this, that probably some forces want to stop Imran Khan and PTI to come to the election. We today we found out and we heard a very sad news. One of a PTI candidate from KPK being murdered, and I know that you are also running in elections. Could you please comment on that very sad incident, and also are you worried about your own personal safety?
Yes, you are right. We are facing such situations. One thing is, yesterday there was bomb blast in the rally at Sibi in Balochistan, and the other incident took place today in Bajod in KPK, and similarly in all the country, wherever we are going for campaign, our supporters are being arrested, our voters and our sympathizers are being intimidated. Some are picked up and they are detained in illegal confinement, and sometimes they are threatened by the police. Phone calls are given to our supporters that if you are seen with Mr. Shoaib Shaheen, my constituency is 47 from the heart of the city, and this Supreme Court, High Court, Presidency, and the Prime House, all these are, even in the Election Commission, all these buildings and the persons who are living within these premises are my voters. So, keeping in view all these facts, when my supporters are being harassed in the city, even the person, the SHO, and the police officials are calling them that if you are seen there, then you will be picked up, and some are picked up. They are raided, and their houses are raided. All these things I have complained to the Election Commission of Pakistan, but no result fruit has been received. And I also sought the order of the Supreme Court of Pakistan that level playing should be given to all the candidates of the PTI and all the candidates, but there is a regular violation of the judgment of the court. We are facing all these worst kinds of the human rights violations, and the fundamental rights are being violated. The persons are being there is a drama of democracy, but actually there is no law and there is no democracy in our country, which is being viewed nowadays in the elections, which is going to be scheduled next week.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaheen. You have been wonderful in giving us what is happening on the ground and the difficulties you and your party is facing. We have our next guest, Mr. Azaz Hassan, who will be joining us via telephone call. Mr. Azaz Hassan has been very vociferous on issues pertaining to the free and fair elections and the treatment PTI has been receiving from establishments propelled campaign by the caretaker government. Azaz sir, thank you very much for joining us over the phone. You must be monitoring the events of the last 2 days, especially these two very harsh decisions against Imran Khan and his wife. And we wanted to have a legal opinion from you that what is the actual true nature of these decisions and how the higher court, probably high court, will overturn it.
Well, these will be overturned for sure. They are actually, these are decisions that have been in grave travesty of justice, and they're unimaginable in the deviation from law that has taken place. It is unimaginable because these are criminal trials, number one. Number two, in criminal trials, as you know, the whole law is so framed and so explained that there has to be much care that no prejudice is cast to the accused, because the prosecution is a stronger party. It is the state, and in this case, what has happened in the so-called cipher case, where a message from the our ambassador in Washington was sent to 5 senior officials, as is normal, concerned with security, i.e. the president, the prime minister, the home minister, the foreign minister, and the chief of army staff. And in that, what Donald Lu, a senior American official, indicated to our ambassador that if Imran Khan, Prime Minister, was not removed the next day in a vote of no confidence, then the Americans would not forgive us. Virtually, these were the words. And the next day, in the vote of no confidence, the Prime Minister was indeed voted against. And there was some tension in the voting, and the Deputy Speaker who was presiding ruled the motion out in view of this message from the Americans. saying that it was basically an American thrust and America contrived a vote of no confidence. So he passed a ruling saying that the Supreme Court was moved, presumably by the militablishment, and a bench of the Supreme Court late at night came and opened got the Supreme Court building opened and sat to hear the plea of whoever wanted the motion to continue. In any case, the motion was passed after some time, and Imran Khan was removed as the Prime Minister. Now, this was the cipher in this context was a message that preceded the vote of no confidence, and was a message to, obviously not the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister was to be removed, but to some other official of the five who I just named. Now, the Prime Minister made known to the public at large, and he was accused of betraying national secrets, official secrets, under the Official Secrets Act. My view is that this was not a secret, that was classified, and in any case, the Prime Minister was himself entitled to determine what to classify and what to not. And if there was such a threat, and we believe there was such a threat, because the Pakistan government, not only Imran Khan, but his successor also voted to send a démarche to the Americans and protest this interference. Now, this issue was whether he could take the people into confidence on this issue. And there is adequate law that he should, and he took an oath also, under which it is said that in such cases he should bring it to the knowledge of the people. Now, in this case, which was in which the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Imran Khan, and his Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi were each sentenced to 10 years rigorous imprisonment, which means imprisonment with labor, some kind of labor, and the Prime Minister actually was sentenced, as I said, in this, and but in the process, there was deep flaws. There's no due process. At one point of time, the judge directed two lawyers on the prosecution's team to step onto the other side, become the lawyers of the accused, the Prime Minister and his Foreign Minister, and to cross-examine the prosecution witnesses themselves. Excluded the lawyers who were representing the Prime Minister. Then no statement from the side of the defense of the accused was recorded under a section that requires the statement, and the defense of the accused is in that statement, and the accused also indicates whether he wants to leave defense evidence or not. All this was none of this was undertaken, and the verdict was announced after the prosecution had been cross-examined by prosecution's lawyers, and the sentence of 10 years was announced. Now, this is like in a 2020 cricket match, one team goes into bat, scores how many soever runs, 150 maybe, or 90, and the umpires declare it the winner without allowing the other side to bat or take its turn. The defense was denied even the statement of its narrative and its version of what the evidence of the prosecution had led to. In the second case, it is about gifts to the Pakistani dignitaries and higher officials going abroad and being given gifts, as the Arabs particularly do, and bringing them back. When brought back, the person who's given the gift is the official, maybe the Prime Minister, the President, or Foreign Minister, or whosoever. He has an option. He can purchase that from the Tokhana, where the gifts are kept, gift repository, and pay a lesser value than the proper market value. Because the gift has been given to him, although the state appropriates it, and he then buys it at a lower value. That value is determined by a committee, and that is the procedure. Now, he has been indicted for taking gifts and taking them at lower price than would be normal. Now, if he had been allowed his statement, he wasn't allowed to make a statement in court, and his wife was also accused, and she hasn't been allowed to make a statement in court. And when he had to make that statement, without taking his defense version, which this statement would have contained is the defense version, and without seeking from the accused whether they would like to produce somebody evidence or some material, they would obviously have said, we want to the record of this Tosha Khana in these from the last 20 years till today, or 30 years or 40 years, to show that there was a department practice which he himself, Imran Khan also complied with, but he was not allowed that opportunity to make the statement and to demand that he be allowed to produce defense witnesses. And here again, after the first innings in the T20, the second side was not allowed on the ground, and the verdict was announced with only one side having batted. So these are clearly matters that have been, that are a total
well, it
abdication
appears like
of legal authority.
Sir, thank you very much for explaining that in such a detail and unknitting the actual case or cases. It looks like Alfred Hitchcock or Robert Ludlum's case of conspiracy, and the conspiracy against a state and against a elected prime minister, where things have come up. But there is an impression that there is a deep state of Pakistan behind this, because no judiciary can do such kind of one-sided actions. So don't you think that these decisions are made with impunity, as if nobody will be held accountable?
Actually, I think what the purpose of these decisions is that everybody knows. The judges know that, the lawyers know that, the lawyers who switched over and cross-examined on prosecutors who cross-examined on behalf of the accused, their own prosecution witnesses. Everybody knows it, that this is a travesty of law and sheer miscarriage of justice and total gross mistrial. But I think presently what they wanted to do was to make the voter, people are going for an election, and the votes will be cast on 7th of February, 8th of February, 8th of February. So the people, they wanted, I think, to demoralize the people who want to vote for Imran Khan. That they finished 10 years gone or 14 years gone. and he's disqualified of holding any office in the government or in elective office for 10 years. So he's gone. But I am sure that this, after the 8th of February, which is the poll date, whenever these cases are fixed before a high court judge, they will be, these convictions will be suspended at least immediately, and of course, then appeals can be heard a few weeks later, but instantly they would be suspended. In fact, if Imran Khan's party, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, is able to file the appeals within the next 2 to 3 days, early next week, before the 8th, they could be fixed. And if the High Court is not actually dragging its feet and slowing down the process deliberately, the matters will come like Nawaz Sharif. Matters came up within days of his arrival in Pakistan, and his convictions were set aside.
That's right.
Without argument, in fact. Here the lawyers, Imran's lawyers, just have to show that they were ousted. The cross-examination was allowed to prosecution witnesses by prosecution lawyers, and I think that is, it will be declared a mistrial.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan, for joining us and giving us your candid thoughts, and especially illustrating the legal catches and lacunae in these two decisions against Imran Khan. And now we move on to Mr. Rauf Hassan, who is the PTI party's spokesperson, who is intellectual and who has been a bureaucrat and a voice of reason in Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Rauf Sahab, thank you very much for joining us on a video link from Pakistan. These are really, really trying times of an epic struggle that the PTI finds itself faced against its system. We have seen a couple of very difficult days for your party and for Imran Khan. What do you make out of this decision, which have really shocked the entire Pakistan, if not the world?
Thank you very much for having me in. I was hearing Itazaz Saab, and I think he has thrown ample light on the legal aspect of the case. I would also touch on that, but for me the most important part is that where is my country headed? If such be the state of the judiciary and such be the degradation that has occurred in the society, then where are we headed? What do we want to turn this country into? That's something which is really casting a dark shadow on the entire society. The least said, the better about the judgments. Obviously they are worse than the kangaroo courts. These are all premeditated, pre-orchestrated, preordained judgments, which had been possibly scripted, a number of days ago, and they were going through the retinue of making it appear like a hearing, like a case, which it was not. Ultimately, I think we were given to understand, that they wanted the judgment out. The powers that be wanted the judgment out before the elections, a few days before the elections, so that they're able to drive a feeling of despondency among our voters, and sort of convince them to stay away from the polling stations. This has been the strategy, on which they have been working for some time. So the last couple of days, were the worst, when it comes to jurisprudence, and following the constitutional and legal sort of benchmarks in conducting a case inside a courtroom. So they were completely mutilated, and the judges literally, looking downwards, as if they were scared of looking at Khan's face. They just pronounced the judgment, and literally rushed out, as if they were going to be hit if they stayed back in the court. So it's a moment of shame. In the words of Faz, "Ye maatam-e-waqt ki ghadi hai." तो ये मातम वक्त की घड़ी है मेरे भाई इस वक्त इस मुल्क के लिए, that we are virtually overpowered by a bunch of crooks who are manipulating every institution of the country and have virtually forced them into becoming subservient to a singular diktat. We don't even know the source of that diktat, but obviously your guess is as good as mine, or my guess as good as yours. So I don't know. My concern is that I don't know where are we headed. What are we going to turn this country into? And I think it's time that we cast off the sham of democracy that we continue preaching to the world. We are not. We are not a democracy, and the way we are going, we shall never be a democracy. As a matter of fact, whatever traces of democracy we had been able to germinate in the society in the last 3 decades or so, they have been hit for a six. They have gone out. We are a very cruel, a very autocratic state. Which is subservient to a singular diktat whose source is also unknown. So these are my sort of fears. These are my sort of emotions. People like me who committed to living in this society, who opted not to leave here. Not that I did not get chances. I got many chances. I could have left this country. But I said, no, this is my country and I'm going to stay back here. Now, at this late age in my life, I asked myself, what is my rationale to continue living here? And what was my rationale when I initially decided that, okay, this is my country and this is where I'm going to be? Our children, our middle class people, educated background children, they just walk up to their parents and say, "Sir, we don't have any hope. You're not going to stay here." I have 2 children. None of them wants to stay here. One is already settled in England, been there for more than 2 decades, and my daughter would leave any day. So what hope? They say there's no hope here. The word they use is very, very, very symptomatic. Of the deep despondency which unfortunately every person in this country suffers from. They say there's no hope here. There's no hope here. Yes, we have extinguished hope for all the young people who would even think of living in this country.
Rob sir, thank you very much for really sharing your very deep sentiments and thoughts, and I can see, and we've been hearing about it from overseas Pakistanis in particular, and obviously people across all strata in Pakistan, and somebody of such an illustrious career and intellect like yourself, talking and even contemplating like this is a huge loss to a nation or a country. You would agree that any nation or a country rules through a moral and ethical superiority and a rule of law.
Yes.
And if its own institutions, they start a war against its own people, unfortunately there is no hope. But as you know, as a Muslim, hopelessness is a sin, and I'm sure that the night becomes its darkest before the dawn, and I'm sure things will improve. Do you think that these 2 decisions were particularly orchestrated to dampen the passion and the zeal and zest of the PTI workers to go to the polls?
Yes, I said that at the beginning of my comment. I said that part of the strategy was to try to keep people away from the polling stations. Because they know that if people turn up in large numbers, there's no way they can defeat PTI. If we can get about 60% people to the polling stations, let me assure you that we shall not only run away with a 2/3 majority, we could even potentially run away with a 3/4 majority. So this is a cause of major concern for them, and one of the fundamental reasons why they were hell-bent on announcing the judgment, the punishment, a few days before the election, was this, that people would be disgruntled, they would be despondent, and they would possibly opt to stay away. But let me assure you that the more they suppress, the more they oppress, the more they unleash their cruelty, their barbarism, the more people they would see at the polling stations. I'm also worried about the day of the polling itself, the 8th of February, in a situation, where we believe that lots and lots of people, would like to converge to the stations to be able to cast their votes. The administration, on the contrary, would like to stop them. So there is possible potential for a clash. And if that happens, let me tell you, with the frustrations having piled up, with so much, with people enduring so much of pain and suffering, economic and otherwise, there could be a major upheaval, and that would not be good for the country. You see, that is the reason why our consistent uh, message for our followers, for our workers, for our activists, is that just go and cast your vote peacefully and go back homes. But that depends on the attitude of the administration, whether they would allow them to cast the votes peacefully. I hope that they don't try to stop them, because that would have the potential to create a very ugly situation, and that may not augur well for the country. You just said, that the darker the night, the brighter the rays. Faz has been a lifelong sort of, bedside table reading for me. And he's talked about it beautifully in his poem Mulakat. And I've also translated 102 of his poems, which I have in the process of publishing. But so he says, बहुत स्याह है ये रात लेकिन बहुत स्याह है ये रात लेकिन इसी स्याही में रूनमा है वो नहरे खून जो मेरी सदा है इसी के साये में नूर गर है वो मौज ज़र जो तेरी नज़र है.
Beautiful.
So, yes, I would like to replicate your thought.
Yeah.
I would hope and pray that this is a dark before the light.
Yeah.
But when I addressed my rational code, unfortunately, I don't hear a sound there. But I also understand. I am convinced that the dark cannot be eternal.
Yeah.
So yes, it must go. But I hope that it goes in a peaceful manner. And I hope that the powers that be realize that they are on a self-destruct course, which is ultimately going to damage the country. It is not going to damage Khan. It is not, definitely not, because they have not been able to damage his reputation. They have not been able to damage his popularity. It has only continued surging in the past 2 years. So they are actually damaging the country. And they must understand that if there's no country, there's going to be no you, no them. There's going to be no diktat emerging from any source. So they must let sanity walk back into their discourse. They must let sanity walk back into their thinking powers. And it's time for them to take a step back and ponder. What are they trying to do with this country?
What we see from abroad, from overseas Pakistanis and the citizens of the world, that what is happening is in Pakistan is a sheer dictatorship, except a very, very thin veneer or a very thin veil. So there has been speculation that if things even do not go well for the deep state, there can be a martial law even. And do you think that there are any chances that the elections will not go ahead as proposed because of the so much of a passion in the PTI workers, and there can be martial law?
Number one, we are living through an undeclared martial law. I call it the undeclared martial law. That's number one. My contention has always been that Pakistan has through all the 76 years, we have had military rule in this country, either direct military rule, which has come about through coups d'etat, or indirect military rule, the one that we are seeing these days, and the ones that we saw in the past also through the Sharifs and Zardaris. They were the product of the militaries, and they were used by the military. Imran Khan is the first person, basically, who has his own mind, and he thought only and only of this country. He did not fill up his personal coffers. He did not do any such thing at all. He just thought of the ways and means, whereby he could bring some benefit to the country and its people. And this has not been a traditional thought process, when military ruled directly or it ruled indirectly. The fact is that the ruling elite, basically the beneficiary elite, which comprises less than 1% of the total population of the country, they were only concerned about their own benefit. They were only concerned about their own coffers, their own properties, their own whatever. They were never concerned about Pakistan. Never entered their thought process. Benefit to Pakistan never occurred. So basically, it's a clash between two mindsets. And I think that is why it is going to be comparatively more difficult for them to come to an understanding, or for them to reconcile that, well, there could be leaders like Imran Khan also, because they're used to the likes of Bhuttos, they're used to the likes of Sharifs and Zardaris, and the clans, and the larger clan, that includes people like Fazlur Rahman, etc. So they understand, that they should understand, or they actually, I feel that they will not understand, that leaders could also emerge with a different mindset as compared to the ones that they have been dealing with. And this was basically the fundamental reason of the clash that occurred, and also the intensity that the clash carried. Because you would remember that the tradition had been that they would kick out a prime minister, and he would spend a few days in jail, and then he would fall on his knees and say, "My baap, maaf kar dijiye,"
That's right.
and he would be sent out to Saudi Arabia, to London, to wherever he wanted to. And then, from there, he would start his jod tod and come back after 2, 3, 4 years, and be plonked back in the seat of power. So they expected that Khan will also do the same, that he would not be able to last in jail. But contrary to their expectations, I think Khan has grown stronger with every passing day that he spends in jail. And this is what is haunting them. So they could never imagine that there could be a leader who would act like that, who would have the courage and perseverance and will and grit and conviction, that he would say, like, do whatever you want to with me. I'm not going away. I'm going to stay in this country. So this is why the severity of the punishment, and this is why the desperation that somehow they have to take care of Khan. So we expect the worst, but once again, I would like to go back to the prospect of light, peeping through the dark, and doing some good in this country.
Rauf Sahib, you've been so articulate and so beautifully eloquent, both in English and Urdu. And I'm sure that our audience, our viewers, probably would like to hear more of you in English in particular. And it is really, it is fascinating to hear your thoughts. I'm just going to take the discussion to a different angle, actually. The soul of every Pakistani is imbued with deep patriotism and love and affection for the country and its institutions, especially the Pakistan Army. However, as the things have unfolded, people have come to know that there is elephant in the room and nobody's talking about it. And of course, for the fear of coercion, the fear of reprisal and all that. And knowing that deep state exists in every country, in every state, and it should, and it probably is. But what is the intelligentsia of deep state? Can't they simply see it, that by doing what is happening, people are not going to love their establishment? They're not going to come and throw flowers when innocent people are dying left, right, and center, and so many people are in the prison.
Well, so the fundamental change has occurred in the last couple of years, basically. I think, you remember that we've had many debacles in this country. The former East Pakistan debacle, the loss of over 55% of the country itself, was a huge debacle. And even that was forgiven by the people of Pakistan out of love and affection they had for the establishment, for the military. But in the last couple of years, and this is primarily because of two factors. One is the awareness that Khan generated among the people of the country. He is, this is a great contribution he has made to Pakistan. He has made people aware of their rights, of their potential, and of so many other things, that unfortunately had always been curbed, had always been sort of, put aside. So it is because of that awareness, that they started thinking in a totally different way. And it is not a servile and subservient manner that they think now. I think they feel that, they have their rights, and they would like to fight for their rights and do something about their lives, which have been absolutely miserable in the past. So this is one factor. The other factor is that the social media. Social media has brought about a revolution in people being able to communicate their thoughts to other people. It was not there, but in the last, particularly 5 years, I think, social media has come up as one of the fundamental communication networks. So on the one hand, people are far more aware today as compared to what they were in the past, and on the other hand, they now have a means to communicate. They have a means to communicate their sentiments, and this is why we feel today that people are not just concerned about Pakistan. People are not just concerned about their own future, their own lives. They're also angry. There's a lot of anger that is seething underground, and this is where my fear is born. I feel that if this kind of does not find a catharsis, a peaceful catharsis, then it could sort of boil over in an orgy of in an orgy of sort of violence.
Yes.
That is what
Yeah.
makes me afraid.
Yeah.
I hope it does not happen, but it also depends on what the other people are doing about the people, and what the other people are doing about the country itself.
Yes.
And I'm particularly disappointed, with the role of one institution. Of course, I'm not happy with the role of any institution, because they've all acted in an extremely servile and subservient manner. They have lost their independence, their freedom, as well as their dignity and self-respect also. But I'm particularly unhappy with the way the judiciary has conducted itself. Particularly since the induction of Qazi Faiz Isa, we thought that he would live by certain reputation that he had built over a period of time. But unfortunately, he has been more disappointing than anybody else who had preceded him. When the institution does not, when the judiciary stops dispensing justice, and this is what my leader says also, Khan, that the fundamental sustaining factor in a society is the rule of law. And if everybody is not brought under the rule of law, if everybody is not equally answerable before the rule of law, then there is inequity and injustice in the society. And an unjust society is bound to falter, is bound to sort of come apart. And let me assure you, sir, there is no justice in the society. And with the conduct of the judiciary and what they have exhibited in the last couple of years, since the ouster of Khan government, let me assure you that we have a massive disaster in store for the future of the country. And I hope, like I said earlier, I hope they are able to take a step back and ponder their conduct and their performance, and they're able to sort of change it. They're able to give it a different sort of dimension, and they understand the reason of their failures, and they're able to break. In fact, I would say that they need to break this stranglehold affair, and they should come. They should walk clear of it and start taking decision on the basis of the Constitution and what the statute book says. If that happens, let me tell you, the light that you talk about, the rays of light, possibly shall come earlier than one thinks they would.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan, for your thoughts, and I'm impressed by your vocabulary, both in English and now in Urdu, and how you brought in beautiful poems and stanzas from great Faiz Ahmad Faiz Sahib. And I'm sure that you will be able to one day publish your translation of Faiz Ahmad Faiz Sahib's poetry. We have now come to the end of this program, but one thing is very common amongst all of these three distinguished guests that we had, that there is elephant in the room that nobody's talking about. Pakistani politics and democracy has been plagued by interruption, by the military interventions time and again. And even though the military intervention is not on the surface, there is a huge suspicions amongst Pakistanis all over the world that the military establishment are still pulling the puppets strings, which are the caretaker Pakistani government. And behind all of these atrocities on PTI and Imran Khan is the military establishment. It is not good for any country or a society, because any society or a country resides on three principles: nationalism, democracy, and welfareism, as said by a very famous thinker and philosopher from China, Mr. Sun Yat-sen, and which was translated later on by different people to believe that democracy is the only way of governance. We want democracy in Pakistan, and we want a good civil-military relationship. So no one institution should overpower the other, because that's the only way people would actually progress and they will translate their dreams into reality. So with that, I wish you all the best for your endeavors in your political arena, to my dear guests. And thank you very much, audience, for watching this program. And until my next program, I say goodbye from my London studios at Quews.news.